This Week in Startups is brought to you by InVision. Get InVision for startups with unlimited users on the full suite of InVision tools, plus enterprise-level security and support at invision.com/twist. That's INVISION.com/twist. Salesforce Essentials. Jumpstart sales and support by leveraging the world's #1 CRM at a startup price point at just $25 a month per user. Go to salesforce.com/twist for an additional 50% off and a free onboarding call. And Squarespace. Turn your idea into a new website. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use offer code TWIST to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Hey everybody, welcome to This Week in Startups. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis, and this is the podcast where we talk to entrepreneurs, technologists, venture capitalists about the world of startups, entrepreneurs, and venture capital. It's very simple. It's called This Week in Startups. We do it twice a week. You may have noticed over the last couple of weeks, we've been doing it 3, 4, and 5 times a week. Why is that? Because, gosh darn it, so many of you are listening to this podcast. So many of you are so passionate about this podcast that you're sharing it with your friends. And you're saying, look at this incredible knowledge on this podcast. It's teaching me how to be a better entrepreneur, a better investor. And the reason for that is I get great guests. This year has been a banner year. We've had like 36 unicorn founders, people who are the founders or CEOs of billion-dollar companies. And we've had the greatest investors on the podcast. And they're very comfortable with me, Jason Calacanis, because, well, listen, I'm very successful at what I do, angel investing. And they feel comfortable telling me the truth about how they built their businesses. And they feel comfortable telling me the truth about it. And the way I do that is I ask them really softball questions for the first 40 minutes. And then somewhere around the 50th or 60th minute, I ask them really hardcore questions. And they're so lulled and they trust me so much that they spill the beans. And y'all benefit from that, okay? But today will be no different. I'm really excited about today's guest and the company. The company's called HackerOne. And you can go take a look at HackerOne. Is it hackerone.com?
It is.
It is. And the guest is Mårten Mickos.
Correct.
And he is the CEO of HackerOne. There's a bunch of founders of HackerOne, four founders, in fact. We'll get into that. And they help people, and we'll hear this from Mårten in a minute. They help people do bug bounty programs, and we'll get into all that in a minute. But I want you to take a moment and go to haveibeenpawned, PWNED.com right now. And type one of your email addresses in there. And then lo and behold, if you go to that website, which aggregates all the hacks that have happened, you will find out that you have, in fact, been hacked. Every company, every data set that could be hacked will be hacked, is my belief, and probably has been hacked already. It's just a matter of you knowing it or not, and the fallout from that hack. How do we deal with these hacks? This has been one of the questions that we've had to struggle with in the technology industry because we know that things will get hacked. That is the nature of technology. Just like banks get broken into. I mean, listen, we're sitting here in 2019, and if you type in bank robbery, you'll find a bank robbery in Google News that happened in the last week. How are bank robberies still happening? Well, there's bad people in the world, and there's an incentive to rob banks. There's bad people in the world, and there's an incentive to, rob and steal from computer companies, from internet services. Well, HackerOne came up with the most brilliant idea. They said instead of incentivizing people to take that data and sell it to criminals when they hack into a system, what if the person who got hacked just paid off the hacker? Now, just pause for a second and consider this concept. This would be like saying to a bank robber, if you can successfully break into the safe, instead of taking the money or the bonds, we'll give you some money in bonds. If you can prove you can do it, and you tell us so we can clean it up beforehand. This is the craziest, best idea I've ever heard in my life, Mårten.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Did I describe what HackerOne does correctly?
Yes.
Do you take objection to anything I said?
I do.
You do? Okay.
Yes.
Tell me what I got right and what I got wrong.
It is like inviting all the good guys to break into the bank.
Okay. So instead of taking the criminals and saying, go rob the bank. You're saying, I'm going to take all the safe crackers and the people who are really good at building bars and building security systems and saying, hey, security experts, go break in.
Right.
If you can crack it, let us know. Here's my question. When a company puts out they call it a bug bounty program. Is that what they call it in the industry?
They do. Right.
So if a company puts out a bug bounty program and says, hey, we'll take $10,000 or $20,000 and we'll put it aside here every month, every year. I don't know what the budgets typically are. We'll get into that in a minute. And they say, come on, hack us. Where is the line when that hacker breaking into the system or checking the security vulnerabilities is probably the better way to say it? How do you know if that person is breaking the law or not by inviting them in? This is what I don't understand about HackerOne's brilliant business.
So let's
Do you understand my question?
It's a perfect question, but let's think again about metaphors like you did. If you are leaving your home and you ask your friends to watch over your house and you say, try to get into my house just to see if you could.
Yeah.
How would you make sure that your friends, how would you know whether they made it in? You would say, if you get in, tell me what color my wall is or something. You'd ask them to prove that they've been inside. But you would, of course, say, don't touch anything, don't take anything.
Right. And I might even say, hey, let's sign a contract ahead of time that we're going to do this. So if the cops show up, they don't shoot you.
Exactly. And it is exactly like this. Every program will say, here's how you show that you found it. And here's what you must never do. Never take data, never steal data, never break anything.
Got it.
And that's how the rules are set.
What does the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation here in the United States, think of HackerOne? Because this is the most challenging acute issue that the FBI deals with. They can deal with the Russian mob. They can deal with the Italian mafia. They can deal with crime, drugs, shakedowns. They are perplexed by this issue. What does the Federal Bureau of Investigation here in the United States think about HackerOne and this process? Were they open to it in the beginning? Were they confused like me? What's your relationship with law enforcement?
Law enforcement actually is in favor of this. And if you listen to the Deputy Attorney General, he said everybody should have a bug bounty program.
Okay.
And they've written a framework for it to recommend it to everybody because it makes it life much easier for law enforcement. Because then you can reduce the number of crimes and you can also make a clear distinction between those who break in for good reasons, invited, and those who are criminals and who should be caught by FBI.
So they've actually worked with you to say, here's the architecture of, if they, in the analogy we're using, they drove by my house and they see somebody, messing with the window and a crowbar, they go, oh, that's one of the good guys, not one of the bad guys. How do they know?
Well, it's nearly like that. The thing is, it is the companies that we hack that will know this. And they will say, you are welcome. And they've signed a paper saying, we will not prosecute them. We will not send FBI after the hackers. That's how it works. So we haven't had to deal directly with FBI at all.
What is the law? Wait, I'm gonna save this one. How many bug bounty programs does HackerOne currently have in 2019 when we're taping this?
We have 1,300 programs running on the platform.
1,300?
Correct.
And what is the average spend or so, ballpark, that a company spends on the bounties? Like, what do they put up? What's the lottery here?
Some programs are very small because they're startups. They don't have big budgets, so it's a few $1,000s a year. Our biggest program last year, $5 million in bounties.
Wow. And this is all public, so who was it?
Verizon Media.
So Verizon Media, which owns my previous company, Weblogs Inc., which is Engadget, Autoblog, et cetera, plus Huffington Post and everything. They said it's so important for us to keep these brands secure because we make $1 billion a year off of our media collection. That $5 million, if they ever have to pay it out, even if they paid it all out.
They did.
They did pay it all out.
They did pay it out, yes.
Oh, my Lord.
But you have to compare it to what the alternative cost would be. The cost of a breach is much higher. The cost of any other solution is much higher. So this is actually the least expensive way of finding your vulnerabilities.
All right, when we get back, I want you to tell me about the 4 hackers who have earned $1 million from bug bounties when we get back on This Week in Startups. You know Envision as the product design platform used by thousands of startups and by 100% of the Fortune 100. Well, now they have a new offering with startups in mind, and it's called, wait for it, Envision for Startups. And this will help you streamline your workflow from design all the way to development, and it will make your startup life so much more manageable. Envision for Startups gives you the full suite of Envision tools, all packaged with startups in mind. You're going to get unlimited accounts for your entire team to collaborate so everybody has a voice, as well as enterprise security and customer support. You can get Envision for Startups at envision.com/twist. That's INVISION.com/twist. Streamline your workflow with unlimited users and get the full suite of Envision tools, including the very cool freehand collaboration tool, which is just amazing. And it's just one of their many tools. You'll see it when you go to the site. And you will get that enterprise level security and support. Thanks again to Envision for supporting This Week in Startups. All right, my guest today, Mårten Mickos, which is Michael in Finnish.
Sort of Michaels. It's the name of a...
Michaels, yeah.
It's the name of the farm where my grandfather grew up.
And you're Finnish?
I'm Finnish.
All right. Well, I'm part Swedish.
Yeah. How's your hockey?
Street hockey, we played in Brooklyn.
Right.
You know what street hockey is?
I do, yeah.
You just run. You wear sneakers.
Exactly.
And then we would play roller hockey, which was on rollerblades or skates.
Right. Yeah.
And that was particularly painful because we wouldn't wear like gloves or anything. So when you fall on the ice,
right,
you have gloves, you slide. You know what happens when you fall on asphalt and you're playing street hockey?
It's bad.
You scrape your whole hand up, dirt, asphalt, blood. It's just wonderful.
Yeah.
You got the brown bread there in Finland?
We do. The rye bread.
The rye, delicious. With the butter on it. And then you have the you get the schmorborg?
We do. Yeah.
You do schmorborg?
Yeah.
Smorgasbord. That is the brown bread with the little fish on it.
Herring.
Oh, the herring.
Pickled herring, raw herring.
The mustard herring. You ever have that?
Mm-hmm.
I had the mustard herring at my hotel in Stockholm at Tyler Crowley's Stockholm Tech Fest, which takes place in September. An incredible event. You've spoken at it, I believe. And they had that one in mustard. What is that one called? Where they put the fish in the mustard sauce? And
it's called mustard herring.
Okay, I'm going to write that down. I'm going to write that down. So I can't find it here in the United States. You live here?
I do. I think you get it at IKEA. At IKEA, if you go
they have the mustard herring with the meatballs?
I think they do.
Very nice, very nice. All right, when I left our hero, that's you, Mårten, I wanted to ask you about this white hat hacker, because in the industry, a white hat hacker is a good one. A black hat is a criminal. And then there's gray hat, which are people who are kind of straddling the line. And a lot of people, I guess, would say that HackerOne was a way to take those people who were having a hard time making a decision, those gray hats, and pulling them over to the white side before they went to the black side.
Well, I think when they start to hack, they're young, they're teenagers, 14, 15, or even younger. And at that point, your moral compass hasn't really developed.
No, you're just exploring.
You don't know that it's illegal. You don't know that it's a crime. And if you end up on the wrong path, then suddenly you are a criminal against your own plans and wishes. Yeah. And we make sure we give them a path to follow to become good guys.
We were phone crackers and hackers in the 80s.
Exactly.
We got in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Could you whistle?
Well, we didn't have the Captain Crunch whistle thing. What we did was Sprint, when it first came out, we did something called war dialing. What war dialing would be is you put in your area code 212.
Right.
And you'd say, start with this exchange. So 548, whatever. You knew there was an exchange for the first three. And then just start at 001, go to 002, go to 003, call, they pick up. And if you hear a modem on the other end, note in the database modem. And then you'd wake up in the morning and it would war dial. Now, this was costing you, 10 cents a call, 25 cents a call.
Yeah. Yep.
So this could rack up a big phone bill, except we had previously hacked Sprint phone codes by using the same technique. You'd call the 800 Sprint number, put it in a random 5-digit number. And if you got dial tone after that, that was a valid number. And if you didn't get dial tone, it would go,
Right.
It wasn't a good number. So we use a stolen Sprint number to war dial through Manhattan. And you know what we got into? The New York Public Library stacks. We found the number to search the stacks. And this was like this big thing the night we found this. And you know what we were able to do with that code?
Probably nothing.
Nothing. We
and
could
you
literally
didn't even
search
get the bounty.
books. Just like you could do at the library with the VAX computer. You could search like where a book was and what row it was in. We could do that from home. So it was the absolute biggest victory of our careers, and it was completely meaningless.
That's amazing. You can sign up with HackerOne tonight and start hacking again.
War dialing doesn't exist anymore. There's no more modems.
You could make $1 million.
Exactly. But a 19-year-old, Santiago Lopez from Argentina, he reached $1 million in February of this year. How many times did this individual, tell me about him.
So Santiago lives in Buenos Aires. He's 19 years old. He started hacking when he was 14. He signed up with HackerOne and he started learning on his own. No formal training, no education, just very smart, curious, tenacious, young.
Grit.
Yes, grit. And probably his mother telling him, Santiago, go out and play football or something.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, Mom, I'm doing this.
Yeah. Sounds like my mom.
Yeah, exactly. And now he has earned $1 million on that work.
That's insane.
It is insane. But it is also the absolutely right reward. If you think about how he has made the internet more secure, how he has saved companies who might have gotten breached otherwise, and he has told them how to break in and they fixed it.
Well,
it's worth more than $1 million.
It is. Is
Maybe
he doing this every day, or is he like hacking? Are these like really high bounties? Like they're 100K each and he did 10 of them? Or is this like 1,000 of them at $1,000 each?
It's the latter because he is so young, so he started small. But of course now he can earn 10,000 in a single bounty or 30,000.
And most of the people who are hackers in this space are self-taught?
Yeah, by far.
Are the companies that are embracing this, do they typically embrace this after they've been hacked and they're like, oh my God, what's the best solution here? And then they go do it? Or are people doing this proactively?
The tech companies do it proactively, so they just know it's the best thing to do.
You don't have to sell them.
We don't have to sell them. The second group are those who are receiving reports and not knowing what to do with them. Like hackers will send them reports anyhow and say, hey, look what I found, and they don't know how to deal with them, so we can help there. The third group are not those who get breached, although those will become customers too. It is those who have a competitor who got breached. Because they look around and say, we don't want that to happen to us.
We're next.
We are next.
What's the worst breach in the last year or two? What would you say is the worst breach in terms of the fallout from it and the seriousness for the person who was hacked? I have my own idea, but I'm curious.
Well, we have these where 800 million personal information was stolen. That's a huge breach, of course.
Who was that? Who was breached? Do you remember? Who was that? I remember that. Look it up.
They happen all the time, and it sort of doesn't matter. Yeah. I worry that the worst breach has happened, but we haven't seen the effects yet.
So that would be the definition of the worst one, is the one we don't know.
They've broken in, and they're waiting for taking action or disrupting something. Yeah. And I sincerely hope we'll never get into a situation where societal functions get disrupted, like hospitals or utilities, energy production and stuff. So we've been spared so far. And
Yahoo 2013 was that big.
That was a big one, but
that was like 400 or 500 too, yeah. That one was very important, the Yahoo hack, because they did not publicly disclose it. They kind of kept it quiet for a little bit. Is that the best practice when like this happens, to try to keep it quiet and fix it first, or?
There used to be no good practice declared for it, so companies didn't know what to do. Today, it's very clear that you have to notify the authorities, and you do that.
Oh, are you required to do that? Yeah.
It's a best practice, and in some countries, some industries, it's mandatory. So you just do it because it's
it was right actually 3 billion accounts from Yahoo back then. Yeah. And it actually impacted the price Verizon paid. They had to do a make good of hundreds of millions of dollars on the sale price. Yeah, that is so correct. That was like...
Yeah. Equifax is another one that cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
So there's a number of them. The thing is, there will be more, and they will cost $1 billion or $2 billion or $3 billion. But if you fix your systems before that, then you will reduce the likelihood.
The one that I think was the biggest impact was obviously the DNC getting hacked by the Russians and politics.
And we can only imagine what the effects of that.
Which country, which actor has the best black hat hackers? Is it the Russians or the Chinese?
I don't even know. I'm with the good guys. I'm here only to bring cure and improve things. There are bad guys out there, but they are so few. Like we have 400,000 white hats in our network. That's more than there are black hats in the whole world. So our army is already larger than any group of bad people.
When you have a new customer, they come on board, let's call it Acme, corporation. So we're not like talking about a specific company here.
Did you say hack me?
No, Acme. Yeah, Hackme. Yeah, Hackme Inc. It's a
Right.
good one, actually. That'd be good for your marketing materials. Hackme
Yeah,
Inc.
yeah.
So Hackme Inc. is like, hey, we want to do this. We'll put up $1 million. Great. We totally buy in. We're all in. Do you then tell all 400,000 people go to work, or do you say we're going to announce it quietly to our top 1,000, to the Santiagos of the world, and say, hey, this team from Hackme Inc. is coming on board. Do you want to start the process and sort of like whitelist, invite them to start the hacking process? Or is it just a free-for-all, like you put it up on the website? How do you announce somebody's joined HackerOne?
You're absolutely right. We start with what we call a private program, invitation only. We invite 15 hackers, maybe 30 hackers.
That's it?
And then we successively grow the group. But we make sure that it starts easy so that the company can get used to it.
Are they working together, those 15? Are they talking to each other in a chat room?
They can form groups and they can share the bounties and work together, or they work as individuals. Many of them are lone wolves and they work best on their own. Some others share a lot of, there could be some programs have a secrecy requirement that you're not allowed to discuss it, but in most programs they can collaborate with others.
What's the biggest hole these days? Is it end users? Is it servers? Is it unpatched software? Is it the cloud providers? What's the biggest mistake and holes that you find these hackers are patching for your customers?
The most common vulnerability we find is an XSS, a cross-site scripting bug, which is very common in websites that use JavaScript.
Yeah, explain what that is for people if you can.
A cross-site scripting thing.
Yeah.
It is where when you enter a web address and it has a lot of coding there and it may convey the wrong information to the website and it misreads it and starts doing things it shouldn't be doing.
Got it.
And nearly all security vulnerabilities come from the fact not that software doesn't do what it's supposed to do, it's doing too much. Like the software is too eager to please the user, so it will take the input and assume it's valid and act on it.
All right, when we get back, I want to know how you make money. How does HackerOne make money? When we get back on This Week in Startups. Scaling sales is so hard. You know that, but it's so essential. You need to scale your sales process, your team, and of course your software. You know Salesforce is the world's #1 customer relationship management platform, also known as CRM. And now with Salesforce Essentials, you get easy, out-of-the-box tools and support at a startup price point, and that's critical. Here are the benefits. You're going to get set up instantly, and you can easily scale your sales team by customizing with clicks. You don't need to write any code. You will get simple integrations that connect and integrate all of your data under one roof, and you'll have full cycle customer support. So you can automatically connect multiple support channels. You'll be able to automate busy work and repetitive tasks so you're not wasting your time. And customers can help themselves, of course, with a self-service support site. Everything you need is on one screen, so you can track emails, calls, and meetings from your inbox. Get access to the world's #1 CRM at a cost fit for a startup. Go to salesforce.com/twist and you will get a 50% discount with an annual contract, and you'll also get a free onboarding training session. Once again, that URL, salesforce.com/twist for 50% off. Welcome back to This Week in Startups. My guest today is Mårten Mickos. He is the CEO of HackerOne. There were 4 co-founders of HackerOne, which has raised over 74 million.
74 million, yes.
Yeah. They were founded back in 2012. You can go to hackerone.com to check it out. And our guest, Mårten, he was a senior vice president at the Hewlett-Packard Company before being the CEO of Eucalyptus Systems and, of course, MySQL, which was a database revolution, in fact. Got bought for $1 billion by Sun Microsystems.
Correct. Yeah.
And you were hated by Oracle and Larry Ellison.
I think Oracle always admired us. at MySQL.
Really?
They loved us.
While you were gutting them and charging 10% of what they were charging for the same product?
Yeah, but that's what they also respected, that finally somebody could compete against them.
What was it like competing against
many
Larry
had
Ellison?
tried.
Because he's got those sharp elbows from what I understand. He sharpens them elbows.
But when you come with a community and you're this loving, ahimsa, no violence, there's nothing they can do.
Really?
There's
You
nothing.
kumbaya'd
Completely.
Larry Ellison. You just took out your guitar and you sang kumbaya, and Larry Ellison just lulled
There was
to sleep.
nothing he could do.
He put his samurai sword down.
If they would say something bad about us, we would get attention. If they would say something good about us, we would get attention. If they said nothing about us, they were accused of ignoring a real problem. There was nothing they could do that wasn't useful to us.
It's hilarious.
And when we competed against them, if we won the deal, we were happy. If we lost the deal, we knew we had driven down prices so much that Oracle couldn't do it profitably.
Right.
It works. Disruption works.
Yeah.
You know?
See, people don't understand. MySQL was an open source project.
Correct.
When were you there?
I was the first and last and only CEO of the company.
Oh, really?
From 2001 to...
Because it was an open source project, and it was kind of made fun of for a long time. Like, it wasn't going to be a scalable database. And then all of a sudden it started to scale because which customer really made, was it Google or Twitter? It
started with Yahoo,
Yeah.
and then Wikipedia, then Google, then Facebook, all running on MySQL.
Yeah.
And people would say to me, they say, Martin, it's just a glorified file system.
Yeah.
And I looked back and said, so?
And?
Yeah.
And?
and
it's working.
It's working. And it's still powering Facebook. So it has scaled with Facebook all these years.
Yeah, and you made a little cheddar when it sold, but you decided to go back to work at HackerOne. What made you get back in the game? Because you could have retired, let's be honest.
I could have retired, but I'm a sucker for these unproven, disruptive startups that, if successful, will have enormous effect on society and be fantastic businesses. Of course, we couldn't know 3.5 years ago when I joined what it could be, but I sort of felt that this is just enormous.
How many people are working at HackerOne?
240.
Wow, significant.
Yeah.
And 1,300 customers.
And 400,000 hackers.
Right.
So that's the size of the army.
It's amazing. And virtually no competitors, right? I've never even heard of a competitor. No competitive set yet to speak of.
There's a bunch of them, a dozen of them, but we are paying out more bounties to hackers than all others combined. So we are clearly.
So how do you make money?
How do we make money?
Yeah.
Well, like with open source, we make it up in volume.
So
we have a good business model, but we do make sure that the hackers get paid first. So that's how we are the largest payer out to hackers, because that's the first priority. We now have a great subscription business, and we have fantastic customers, and that's growing more rapidly than anything we've seen so
they
far.
pay like a yearly fee or a monthly fee to
Customers pay us a yearly fee, and then on top of that come all the bounties that are paid to the hackers.
And 1,300. So what would a company pay? Hundreds of thousands of dollars a year? Tens of
Power
thousands?
law distributed with a lot of startups and open source programs who pay us practically nothing. And open source projects we run pro bono without charging.
Got it.
But our biggest ones pay hundreds of thousands a year.
And paying you hundreds of thousands and a couple of million in bounties, the most they could possibly be paying is under 10 million. And they basically get the best security solution money can buy.
They do.
It seems like you're underpricing it.
That's what a firm said that studied our pricing as well. They said we could go up in pricing. But we're very mission-driven. We're out there to serve the whole world. Pricing will find its right level at the right time.
Wouldn't the right price be like $1 for the hacker, $1 for you? It sounds like you're making like 1 out of every $10 or 1 out of every $5.
It's more. We make more than that, but it depends on the actual program. Some programs have a lot of bounties for the hackers, and others need a lot of services from us, and we help them with cyber strategy and stuff. So it varies from account to account.
What do you think of what's at stake with China and 5G and Huawei and, this sort of infrastructure? Because since I have you on the program and you guys are big on hacking, and this is something that's in the news that I'm wondering about, seems crazy to me that France or Canada are considering giving their infrastructure to a Chinese company for 5G. Does that strike you as a crazy thing to do?
Well, with my open source background, I have the solution for all of this. You make sure that infrastructure software is open source, and then anybody can check if there are any loopholes or backdoors or stuff.
Yeah, but Huawei's not going to do that. Cisco's not going to do that, right?
No, but there are also ways in which governments can do such a check and with not being made public. I know I'm an idealist when I ask for it, but this is actually why the internet is so popular, because it's built on open source software, and everybody can make sure that there are no backdoors. So that is the real solution to this. Then when we get trade wars, we get into this difficult situation that if we ban and block another vendor, then they will build their alternative technology stack, which is even more difficult to track. So you say, it's better to have them perhaps closer to the West than farther away.
I love your answer. And thank you for being candid about that. Remember in the beginning I said, like, about minute 40, people get lulled into being candid. You just did it. You didn't even realize that you just got candid with me.
Exactly.
But I think
what is one of our key values at HackerOne, corporate values?
Is candid?
Yeah, default to disclosure, we call it. Meaning everything has to be open, and if you need to keep something closed, you have to explain why. Otherwise, we make it open.
I think it's a good philosophy, and if you think about it...
It's a hard one to follow. Like
it
transparency is really difficult to live up to, but it is a noble goal.
And if you just think about the execution here, what I like about what you said is engagement has its virtues, but the price for not engaging is that, well, they're going to just build their own stack that we don't even know what's in it. If we get them to use our stack and contribute to it, it's like sharing media. Like if we share our movies and people in China love the Avengers, then it's very hard for us to not understand each other because we have that common framework. We both enjoy going to see Iron Man, right? It's like those cultural touch points are what built Europe and even in Japan, like we are very much into Godzilla and anime. Like those actually are very strong bonds, and open source is a very strong bond between nations. Like
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. And this unity and common ground and the commons is now threatened by nation states that are trying to build digital walls or physical walls to defend themselves against something where it will just get worse.
You're talking, of course, about America and Trump.
I'm talking about nearly all large countries in the world.
No,
there are many who are doing that, and it's not healthy for society. And what the internet has done and the whole openness on the internet, the positive effects of mankind are enormous, and now they are at risk. So that is a challenge we have as a society.
Yeah, because I didn't like the other alternative where people were saying, oh, maybe the United States government should put up the 5G network. And I was like, well, that seems even worse to me, like, or as bad as the Chinese putting it in, or a foreign nation state. If it's open source, well, yeah, you're right. Everybody can see it. And can open source work with hardware? Is open source making impact there? So
if you go back to Sun Microsystems when it existed as an independent company, they open sourced their chip design. Yeah. So it is doable. It's technically possible and can be done. And but so openness and open source is one thing. The other thing you always need is competition. You need alternatives. And when you have that diversity there, that's when you can make sure that nobody can control you, because you always have a plan B and a plan C and a plan D.
What were they able to help Starbucks, your 400,000 hackers?
Starbucks is a customer.
I know they're a customer.
They're a very happy customer.
They're happy? What were people trying to hack there? Were they trying to like hack into the POS, the point of sale system?
It's a very good question, because you say, what could hack there? But you could hack every company now has a website, multiple websites, mobile apps, APIs.
Oh, the mobile apps, They're doing all that commerce there.
They have relationships with their suppliers. They have secret plans. All of that needs to be protected. And the point with Starbucks, like with others such as, say, Hyatt hotels, they deal with consumers, and consumers are now voting with their wallets and going to vendors that they trust with their data, because you're paying with your credit card or your debit card, and you don't want to buy from somebody who doesn't have a proper cyber hygiene.
You feel like customers are starting to understand privacy and security better today, or do you think they're still lagging behind?
It will take 5 to 10 years, but I'm so happy that privacy and cybersecurity are now everyday topics for everybody, because we have to, our civilization is becoming digital. We have to figure this out together.
Yeah. Huh.
I think so. Don't you?
I'm just flabbergasted that people don't turn on Twofactor. Two-factor's not even perfect, and people don't put it on because you can fake a SIM card.
Like they're doing now.
Like they're doing now. They got all the Bitcoin people, and it's just like, wow, it's really crazy. Like, why aren't people even putting two-factor on? Okay, I have a really tough question for you. Now that we're getting towards the end, I start pulling out the tough questions. Do you think self-driving cars and airplanes are hackable today? Don't answer till we get back on This Week in Startups. You've got a ton of great ideas and you need to turn them into a website. Of course you do. You need to share your brilliance with the world. And you're going to want to do things like blog or create content and share that. You're going to want to sell products. You're going to want to sell services. Maybe you want to promote a physical or an online business with e-commerce, or announce an event or something you're working on, like a special project. Well, then you need Squarespace. Squarespace is the answer. It provides beautiful and customizable templates and also very powerful e-commerce functionality. Everything's going to just work, and you can buy domains from over 200 extensions. You're going to get great analytics, you're going to get search engine optimization, free and secure hosting, and of course, Squarespace has 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week award-winning customer support. They're not going to leave you in the lurch. You're not going to be on your own. Like if you hired some developer, in another country to randomly put up a website for you. No, you don't want to put yourself and back yourself into that corner. And here's Presh, just whipping through my CMO Presh, browsing the templates on Squarespace to create a website. And here he's choosing a photography template in this example, and he creates an active website within minutes. And what he does is he's captured all the beautiful images that he gets from using superhuman wallpaper because he thinks that's funny. And he made a website called superhumanwallpaper.com just as a joke here for one of our portfolio companies to show all the images they show when you get to inbox 0. You can create a website as fast as my CMO Presh, and you can make it as beautiful as the ones he's creating and as powerful, but only if you use Squarespace. So here is your deal. Get 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain name, and they have over 200 extensions, and there's a lot of great domain names available. You're going to want to get in there and get a really good one. So go to squarespace.com and get a free trial. When you're ready to launch, use the offer code TWIST, and you will get 10% off that first purchase. Thank you so much to Squarespace for being one of my longest running and most supportive partners here on This Week in Startups. I truly appreciate it. Okay. Speaking of great products, let's get back to this amazing episode. Welcome back, everybody. Yes, I'm getting over a cold, but I feel like my interview game is back on point, mostly because I got a great guest from an important company, HackerOne. The CEO, Mårten Mickos, is here. He's Finnish, but he lives here in the Bay Area. And you got my friend Bill Gurley on the board of that company.
I do, yeah.
What's it like to have the best angel investor of the last 10 years on your board? Is he a great board member, a good board member? Is he a hard ass? What's he like on the board?
Bill is a fantastic board member, and he has this wonderful combination of being so rational and sort of mathematical about what he does. So it's all numbers and facts and trends. Yet he also is personally passionate and committed, and he can spend hours with our founders going through product roadmap issues. So he has those two sides to him. And of course, he's very good at identifying amazing startups. He's the one who called me and said, "Mårten, do I have the startup for you?"
Oh, really?
Well, I knew I was leaving HP. HP was splitting into two, and I was leaving it. And I told everybody soon my two hands will be ready for the next thing.
And he said, "I got the next thing."
He did. And
beautiful.
I said, "I'm not interested in cybersecurity because it's just cynical, nitpicky, negative, difficult people."
Yeah, you're only involved when the ish hits the fan.
Right, exactly.
They're like,
Yeah.
it's a disaster. Nobody's going to sleep for the next 3 days. Get in here.
Yeah. And then I realized that HackerOne is the opposite. It's a positive force. We pay for results, not for work hours. It's youthful. It's disruptive. It has all these wonderful characteristics that typical cybersecurity companies don't.
Yeah, I like that part of like the people who are doing it. They're doing it because there's the reward of having solved the problem, and there's a financial reward. Yeah. But I'm guessing like the reward of being the person who did it is so much greater than the financial reward, because they could work anywhere and get a $250,000 a year chief security officer job.
Yeah. Now, they tell us that when they find a vulnerability, they're just shaking in their body and probably their heart rate goes up.
Yeah.
And it's just the feeling, they have this wonderful feeling of winning and finding something. It's just unlimited.
You play poker?
I played not much. I'm a
good.
bad poker
But you have
player.
money, so you can learn. That's the good news.
If I played poker, I probably would
You
not
can
have
learn.
money.
No, but you can learn. That's the education. But it's like, when you flop the nuts, when you got the best hand, you get that tingly feeling like, this is great.
I used to play poker with my kids, and I realized they were much better than I am.
Bill and I will teach you how to play poker. Hey, when I left our hero, that's you, Martin, I was wondering, what's the state of self-driving cars and airplanes? This is in people's mind the big danger in the world. I get my credit card gets stolen. I'm not responsible. My bank account gets drained. I'm not responsible. If somebody steals my pictures, it's embarrassing, but it's not the end of the world. But if you flip the plane or drive the car off the road and it's on self-driving mode or autopilot, we all die. Is it possible to hack airplanes and cars today? Are you working with those companies? Because I see Lufthansa.
Lufthansa is a customer.
It's a great airline, but
Ford is a customer. Toyota is a customer. Other car manufacturers are customers. The point here is...
But are they going for their back office systems and their, CRM and their...
You start there.
But what about the planes and the cars? That's what everybody wants to know. Are those hackable?
Well, the thing is, we must assume that everything is hackable. Whether it is or not, the only sane thing is to believe it's hackable.
Okay,
and
that's the starting point.
And then you focus on fixing it. So you make sure you can fix quickly. That's very important. And then you invite everybody who's a good guy to try to break in. And those are the ways you reduce whatever risk it is. So if the risk is 90%, you reduce it a lot. Even if the risk is just 1%, it is still worth reducing it. Because once you start doing billions of flight miles... Even a 1% risk or 0.1% is a lot of people.
All right, without naming clients or customers, obviously, I'll give you the cover of that. Are people running bug bounties for this level of security today?
Some do. We have. I'll mention a customer.
Oh, okay, great.
We have a customer that makes in-flight entertainment systems.
Okay,
and we hack them. We don't hack them in flight, so they take their equipment out and we do it in a test deployment. But there you have an example of something that's up in the air, and you have to make sure it can't be hacked, because even if the in-flight entertainment system isn't flying the aircraft, who knows what it is connected to or might be connected to?
Right. Those are supposed to be independent systems. But here's a very simple attack. You run that system at a heat or a processing level that starts a fire, and it could be a contagion kind of situation, right?
Exactly.
So people have to be very creative, and we've seen, sadly, terrorists get pretty darn creative with how to take down planes and to do bad things in the world. What about car companies?
But that is why we always must remember that for any bad person on this planet, there's 1,000 times more good people. And when we ask the good people to pull together and find the problems before the bad guys do, we can defend ourselves. Like pooled defense works. And this is a model of it.
This is an interesting story here. I'm looking at from the news.com.au. I think that's Australia. Boeing 757 controls hacked remotely while on the runway, officials reveal in a revelation short of insurance. U.S. government hackers say they were able to remotely take control of a plane. Wow. Robert Hickey, a U.S. Homeland Security sleuth, managed to take over the passenger airplane at Atlantic City International Airport in New Jersey. The plane was hacked in 2016, but Hickney revealed the chilling details during his speech at a recent CyberStat Summit, Avionics Today. We got to the airplane in September 19, 2016, 2 days, so successfully accomplishing a remote, non-cooperative penetration. Wow. So it can be done. They used a combination of radio frequency communications to break in. Wow. That is terrifying.
It is. It is.
Huh.
There are fixes.
Is the government a customer of yours? Is it like...
Government is one of the biggest. If you remember, Hack the Pentagon started in 2016.
Huh.
Secretary of Defense invited HackerOne to run a program with them.
Wow.
And we found 138 vulnerabilities in a few weeks.
Really?
Took us 13 minutes to find the first one.
What was the reaction? Were you there with the person from Homeland Security or the Pentagon when it happened?
I wasn't there at the moment.
Wait, who communicates to them that we found one?
Well, they had asked us to do it, and
Yes.
it was backed and commissioned by the Secretary of Defense himself.
Okay.
So nobody could oppose it. And they even chose the very controversial name Hack the Pentagon.
Right.
And then we ran it. And then they did a press event after that to celebrate the results.
And
they had a 17-year-old kid there, a high school kid who was one of the best hackers, David Dworkin. And he appeared there with the Secretary of Defense.
Wow. What's our government's approach these days to hackers? Because when I was growing up, they were arresting hackers and trying to figure out what to do with them, but they were quickly flipping them into consultants in the 80s and 90s.
Today, they understand this very well. And a year ago, I testified before the Senate on this topic.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And every senator who spoke in that hearing said, I believe in this practice. We need to use ethical hackers. The white hats are a good force. So they all confirmed that it's important. And after that, they passed a bill mandating the Homeland Security to run a bug bounty program. And now there's a second bill in preparation whereby DHS would be mandated to create a bug bounty strategy for every civilian agency. So the government is in the forefront. It's the corporate side that's lagging behind.
You know what? Since you're so transparent, and that's number 4 on your list of values.
Yep, we have 5 values.
Well, give me the other 4. I got to ask. You came up with these.
Start with integrity.
Start with integrity. Sounds right.
Act like an owner.
Okay, that's great. Everybody's a CEO.
Win as a team.
All right, that's it. Great.
Empower the community.
Great.
And default to disclosure.
Love it.
Yeah.
What about going on the offensive? Have you been asked by government agencies to use your 400,000 strong team to go on the offensive? It's a yes or no question.
We have not been asked. If we are asked, we will say no. We only work on invitation by the owner of a system. If the government asks us to go on offensive to them, we will do so. And we have a customer who asked us to do a red teaming exercise. Red teaming is when you're on the outside, you make a plan for breaking in, and you try to break in as a group. And then on the other side, they have a defensive team that tries to prevent you. We do that, but only when invited by the owner of the system. We will never do it for an unknowing third party.
But you love this country. This country's been great to you.
I love this country. I am a citizen of this country.
So you're an American like me.
I am an American. I am more American than most because I'm an immigrant.
Okay, that makes it even more, because you went through the naturalization process.
I did.
This is a very big deal for you.
I have sworn in.
You cried. You cried.
I cried.
It was meaningful to you.
It was meaningful. It was in Oakland in the theater.
I've watched my friends do it. It's very meaningful. I got choked up when they did it.
It is.
What was it like? Tell everybody.
It was wonderful. Like, they had an MC that was so funny. And he said, in government settings, you're never allowed to sing or yell or scream. But today we make an exception. You can scream and yell and sing and do whatever you like. Just enjoy it. And people were just, they were...
And what do they ask you to do?
In that moment?
No. What do they ask you to do to be naturalized?
Oh, you have to pledge allegiance to the Constitution and the flag. You have to pass the very difficult immigration test.
Yes.
10 questions. You must pass at least 6 of them.
Right.
Like, you must know the name of the ocean east of the United States.
Okay, wait a second. It's not a trick question.
No, it is a real question.
Yes.
I managed to have the right answer for it.
But it's a crazy moment when you put your hand up and you make that pledge.
It is.
It's got to be an interesting moment as somebody who was born in another country.
It is, yeah.
Did you feel any lack of allegiance to your homeland? Or did it feel like you were adding to your family, like not losing that?
I felt like, but of course, it's a deep question, because I said, could there ever be a situation where there's a conflict between Finland and the United States?
Well, you'll kill us in the World Cup, so there's no... I don't really think there's much competition occurring.
Who won the Ice Hockey World Championships?
I don't know. Who did?
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Finland.
Oh, yeah.
We beat the Russians. And we beat the Canadians.
Wow.
Wow.
That's impressive. How many people live in Finland? 6?
Not many.
6 million? 7 million?
5.5.
5.5, yeah. It's one of the smaller Nordic countries, yeah.
It is. Well, we box above our weight.
For sure. Yeah. Okay, so now here's the question. You do appreciate this country and what it's provided to you.
I love this place.
If our country was under attack...
It is.
Okay, so the question has now become perfectly teed up. And our government said to you, we need your help. This is a situation where we need you to use your forces to save America. You have to thwart this terrorist attack, this other attack. You're telling me you're not going to get those top 100? You're not going to call up Santiago and say, hey, listen, you're in the game, kid. We got to go on offense. You would do that for your country, wouldn't you?
You put the right soldiers in the right job. We have already found over 8,000 vulnerabilities in the DoD systems.
Yeah.
Army, Marines, Air Force.
Okay, but I'm
travel
talking
system.
about they start coming for us and they
Yeah.
say, put your guys and
Right.
gals on taking out
Yeah.
this threat.
The US government has full authority to ask any US-based hacker to do that. As citizens, they have that obligation.
Oh, okay.
We are not needed.
Got it.
So,
okay.
so I'm not against it, but the purpose of HackerOne is to serve the
But if they said,
preventative
hey,
need.
I need you to tell us the names of your top 10, you're going to give those names up.
We will abide by all laws and
Got it.
decisions that they make. Yes, of course we will.
That was a great wink, Martin. He didn't wink, but I'm going to pretend he winked. No, I think that this is what's going down right now.
Right.
Because I know that we got those centrifuges.
Yeah.
You remember that?
That was smart. But the big question is, will offensive cyber attacks really deter or reduce conflicts and risks? And we don't know yet because we don't really have evidence which way it would play. It could actually play another way. It's possible that you have to fight it with other means. And I'm not saying not to use offensive means. They will be needed. But the question is how they actually play out.
I love the centrifuge story. From my understanding of it, we spun up the centrifuges so fast that we broke them in Iran and set back their nuclear program a bit. And we can infect all kinds of computers on the offense and maybe just, set off their settings just a little bit. They don't even know what's going on. And maybe they're having a hard time figuring out how to get that nuclear fissile material to work properly. We can kind of just a little bit of subversion here or there.
It was a very advanced piece of software.
Very
all the pieces it had for penetrating the facilities, finding out things, recording data, starting to.
Why are people so dumb that when they find a USB drive, they plug it into their government computer? This is the thing I can't get over. Did you just hear about at Mar-a-Lago, the Secret Service found a USB drive?
Yes.
And the first thing they did was take out their government laptop and plug it in.
Well, there's a lot of gullibility and sort of thoughtlessness among human beings. And we have 7 billion people on this planet. So there's probably 1 billion or 2 who would do it.
This is a message to anybody in government who finds a USB, floppy, CD-ROM, or drive handed to somebody in the FBI and computer services. You don't need to take a look at it. Because all it's going to do is infect your computer on the entire network. What are people thinking?
Maybe they're not thinking. Yeah. But this is, you're touching on a point. I'll come to it from another side.
Yeah, please.
We will always have people who will make those stupid mistakes. And we can't just lock them up or get rid of them. We have to build a society where even when people don't know how to act, they are protected. And consumers, you can't expect consumers to know all the good practices of cybersecurity. Yeah. Instead, you have to require that the vendors build systems that can be used by people who have no clue about cybersecurity.
Seems like they're getting better at it. Like if you look at what Apple's doing, they're like encrypting everything by default. If you try to log in, you have a new device. They like Twofactor's by default on, I believe now. They're just getting, and they tell you the locate. You don't have to ask it like, where was the person who tried to log in? They're like, somebody tried to log in from San Mateo. Somebody tried to log in from Singapore. You're like, wait, I'm not in Singapore. What's going on here?
I think it's amazing and fantastic what they're doing. Apple, what Google is doing is great. Microsoft, this Facebook, they are really thinking about it. They have a large cybersecurity team. They have some of the best experts in the world. They will figure out a lot of the solutions to a lot of the problems we have today.
And they're spending much more internally than they are on you, but they're getting much more. They're probably spending hundreds of millions internally and millions with you. And they're getting more value from you than probably the internal team, or equal.
We provide amazing value, so there's no question about it. But there's other stuff to do as well. Like cybersecurity is a broad set of practices you must do. There's two-factor authentication, or the authentication in general, how to deal with that, how to deal with social hacking and phishing and stuff. That's a category of its own.
Spear phishing,
Exactly. And then how to deal with software that's vulnerable, where we are active, but there's a lot of them. And then you have to do threat intelligence, and you have to understand things. You have to have incident response plans. Like it's the whole map of what the CISO needs to be in charge of. That's a pretty large domain.
What I want to do is take cameras and microphones out of devices by default.
It's called feature phones.
Yeah, feature phones, right? But you still have a microphone in that, right?
Sure.
So I guess people use what do they call those bags that you put, devices into that are the radio can't get out of it.
Right, yeah, like a Faraday
bag, cage or bag, yeah. But I think for laptops and those kind of things, that should be out by default and just come like in a little USB thing that you plug in if you want to add it back, so that you're not constantly throwing I mean, how many microphones are in there in this room right now? It's like 15 microphones. We don't even know. Like, my TV has a camera in it and a microphone. I didn't even know it.
But your goal is to have many viewers and listeners, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, at certain times, yes. At other times, I might just want to use the loo.
Right.
Hey,
You're right.
You joined at 2015. What was the state of the company? And when you're a hired CEO, a hired gun, what do you have to do to come in there and not be threatening to the culture and the sort of existing ethos of the company while, let's face it, you're being brought in for a reason to scale it up and to maybe create some order and bring the lessons you learned doing this before?
Yeah.
What is your best practice? What have you learned?
Well, you shouldn't hire a hired gun, a CEO, professional CEO, if the culture doesn't match. And I wouldn't have joined HackerOne if they hadn't all said that they believe in transparency, which I believe in. So there was an instant match. We have developed the culture after that, but there was a match when it started. Another thing I did, and I think we should do, is people were really trying to get me there, like selling me because I'm sort of famous or successful or something. So please, please, please come and be the CEO. But then I turned around and said, I will apply for the job and I will make a plan and suggest how I would run it, as if I'm fighting for the job among many other even better candidates. And maybe I did. Yeah. So I wrote this 6-page application saying, please give me this job because this is the best job I could ever have.
Wow.
So we turned it around. It wasn't just them trying to woo me. It was me trying to woo them. And then I joined, and then we sat down and I said, okay, guys, what's working, what isn't, what do we need to fix? And then how about business model? What should we do about that? How about selling? Would that be a good idea? And then we built a sales force. We built a strong marketing team, customer services. We figured out the business model. It's fun. And the founders...
Sales would be so easy for you guys. All you have to do is go to your Santiagos of the world and say, can you take a look at this potential customer and tell us what you think? Or they probably know.
We are not in the extortion business.
No, I know.
We are not Hell's Angels.
We're
not Hell's Angels coming to you.
Yeah, you know what? It would be terrible if this front window broke in your store. But that is actually how, that is kind of the pivot before HackerOne was the gray hats would say, listen, you need to know you have these problems. And if you were to hire me, it would cost this amount. If you gave me half that amount, I would help you plug this up. And they just figured out a way to formalize that.
Yeah.
Or formalize it without
adding a condition.
Yeah.
If you sign up as a hacker with us, you must agree not to do what's called beg bounty. You mustn't beg for a bounty. So you give up the right to ask for a particular payment. You say, I will take whatever payment I get and I will not complain. And that's how we keep the whole...
Can they complain to you? Do people abuse that?
They do. Of course they do. They come to me as a Martin, this bounty is not big enough. And I said, dude, we are operating, we know how this works. This is what we promised. But of course, hackers are very invested in what they do, and they are impatient, which they should be.
What's the largest single payment a hacker's got for a single hack?
The single biggest we have paid is 100,000. We paid 3 such bounties. We paid one just 3 weeks ago.
Really?
To a research team at a university in Europe who had together figured out a really serious vulnerability, and they got paid $100,000.
Wow. Can you say who that was for or no?
It's not public? Forget. I don't think it is public.
Yeah.
But it's an obvious thing. There's nothing special with it. But the type of product and the vulnerability, it's clear it should be 100,000. And in the future, it will be more. I'm sure it will keep growing.
Yeah. It does seem like, given the fallout, if Yahoo could go back in time, they would have paid $10 million to not have that hack.
Yeah.
And in fact, they came up with the $5 million.
But hindsight is an exact science. It's so easy to be.
So easy, right?
Yeah. But you have to be preventative. You have to look into the future and take precautions.
Listen, it's a brilliant vision, and it's been executed at a very high level, and it's important in the world. So on behalf of everybody, humanity, thanks for taking the job, Martin. It's really important work and continued success. I assume you're constantly looking for hackers. How does a hacker apply to become a white hat hacker for HackerOne?
Well, it's a little bit like the spy organizations that we don't have any job adverts out there. We don't tell them how to apply. If they don't figure it out on their own, they probably are not hackers.
Fair point. So they should show up at your office. Just sit outside the office. You're like, no, not that way. I'm not suggesting you do that.
We give out a lot of T-shirts to people. So there's that side as well. But it's just growing. We don't even know how fast it can grow. We had 200,000 hackers a year ago. Now it's 400,000.
That is extraordinary.
And they learn very quickly. So
what do they like to communicate by? Are they all like email people, or are they all on like secret chat rooms?
Secret chat rooms, Skype, Slack, social media. I have friends on Facebook.
Can they stay anonymous?
Some of them stay anonymous, but to get paid, you need to reveal who you are and fill out the tax form. So if you need money, you have to tell us who you are.
Can they create a corporation and put it in the Cayman Islands and get paid that way if they really want to remain totally anonymous?
No, we wouldn't allow that because we need to have a legal contract with the human being who did it.
Got it.
And that's how the trust is being established. So
that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah. I mean, some of these people they don't want to be known, but I bet you a lot of these people are like, they got a really boring job.
Well, we will not tell the world. We know who they are, but the world may not necessarily know who they are.
You guys obviously,
we have to know.
You guys obviously have a bug bounty for yourself. Like
we do. We have one of the best bug bounty programs on ourselves. And although we think about
have you been hacked
every day, no, we haven't been hacked, but we have these silly vulnerabilities, and we look at them and say, how can we produce vulnerabilities? We are so focused on it, so smart. We should be the best, and yet we produce vulnerabilities, and our hackers find them.
Amazing. All right, listen, continued success. If you want a job at HackerOne, figure it out for yourself. I can't help you. But if you want a program, email sales@hackerone.com. I bet you sales@HackerOne or info@hackerone.com goes to somebody.
It works.
I bet you there's a form at the website you can fill out to spend money.
There absolutely is.
Right,
and we welcome all customers.
Next time, let's get the brown bread here, okay? We get a little brown bread and the butter.
And the herring. The mustard herring?
Oh, I got to get that mustard. You got to write that down, the mustard herring. Yeah. I'd literally...
Sinappisilakka. Sinappasilli.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah, in Finnish.
Oh, it's so good. Like I literally the next morning got up at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And I come downstairs and I'm like, where's the thing? And they're like, breakfast is set up at 6:30. What, you got like half an hour ago? I'm like, can you just bring the herring out? The guy was like, you like it that much? I was like,
well, especially if you have a long night and you get to bed too late. That's when herring is the best.
It's the best. If you've been drinking, it's a great, like, settle your stomach, get a little brown bread.
Why do you think we eat herring in Scandinavia?
Oh, is that what it is?
Thank you, Jason.
So good. All right, we'll see you all next time on This Week in Startups. Bye-bye.